and let us all do we can to build a better future.
I don't want to say too much. I don't want to speak more than 5% on this. We got a video. Let's play it.
Joe Biden and his wishes that his administration be forward-looking and not be looking back at Donald Trump, not be looking at investigations from his Justice Department. What exactly is he talking about, and what is his posture toward all the things that could be investigated about Donald Trump?
Well, Willie, one of the questions facing President-elect Biden is how he handles this pressure from within his own party to investigate President Trump, members of his administration, some of his policies. And what we're told is that privately, Biden has told aides that he is very wary of a flurry of investigations into President Trump, that he feels like it will be divisive at a time when he's trying to unify the country. And also, he just doesn't want every day of his presidency to be about Donald Trump. And he would really like to, as one advisor told us, just move on. At the same time, he's saying that, and his aides are saying that he wants an independent Justice Department, that he wants to reestablish that typical boundary that's been there between the White House and the Justice Department. And that may wind up being how he threads this needle, saying that he's not going to tell his attorney general who to investigate or who not to investigate. And so if he's not doing that, then he has no control over whether or not there are investigations into Trump. But Democrats, they really have wanted investigations into the president's taxes, into obstruction of justice.
Oh, boy. So I just wanted to say, first of all, that we're going to have to sue her if she stole our background. I mean, through and through, there's no question. You saw Also Brick tried to get away by slightly changing 100% the color.
100% real.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, and that Brick background is totally real.
So, yeah, so beyond the obvious that she took that. Here's the thing. Biden is determined to not serve what his own base wants, because hey, we need to put Trump in prison. That's sort of a thing that we want. Been the sort of corner case of Trump being in office, is that he needs to go to jail. And what's Biden do? No, it's okay. He doesn't need to go to jail, because if we put him to jail, it sets a precedent for me to go to jail. Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen. So this is Biden doing the thing that gets done because he doesn't want the thing that gets done to him when he does the thing. Kira, you have a lot more information on this as well, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was looking at another story. Daniel and I sort of raced to this story today when we were choosing our stories. And basically it's they in the article that I looked at from, I think it was Vanity, they literally use the exact same the exact same rhetoric around it, looking forward, not back, right? Which, I mean, I didn't realize that you could commit crimes in the future, but apparently you can. And because Trump committed his crimes in the past, we're not going to do anything about it. But this has basically been a precedent that has been set for decades and decades and decades, and so I don't think, again, it's just like the cabinet picks, right? It's nothing that any of us are really horribly surprised about. But I think a lot of people might actually be surprised with this, because Trump was a bit original in a lot of ways, in a lot of the crime that he did commit, because there's just so much material when it comes to Donald Trump to work with to actually prosecute him and put him behind bars. For example, in December of last year, he became the third president in history to face removal by the Senate. And the vote ran along party lines. The charges were abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Citing Trump's alleged use of government resources to garner election assistance from Ukraine. What's more, Trump's tax returns revealed by the New York Times investigations this year that we talked about on this show showed he appears to have set up gambits to pass money along to his children tax-free. His company deducted almost $750,000 in consulting fees. And then Ivanka Trump, oh, look at that coincidence, had the exact same amount paid to her bank account, even as she was an employee to Trump's company. and that's actually illegal to be getting consulting fees and being employed by the company. Trump wrote off hush money payments as business expenses, not to mention the hush money payments inside of his campaign to Stormy Daniels, upwards of around about $130,000, who he actually has a co-conspirator in jail for right now. Beyond his taxes, it appears he provided insurers and banks with false statements about his financial position in order to receive lower premiums and interest rates on loans. And in certain circumstances, that would be illegal. Over 1,000 former federal prosecutors stated that if Trump were not president, his conduct, as described by Mueller, would result in multiple felony charges for obstruction of justice during the Russia probe. And an investigation was opened into the Trump campaign's inauguration spending as well. Not to mention how he has enriched himself in many ways through his companies with the office of the presidency. So, like I said, there's a lot of material here to work with. And I think that that's why people might actually be surprised by this decision to look forward and not backward. And, you know, the other thing that kind of, you know, is really aggravating is that if the roles were reversed, I think that we know that there's no doubt that what Trump would do. You know, he would definitely go after a Biden administration that, you know, did a bunch of illegal acts. And in fact, I think it was just a month or so ago that he requested investigations that were actually unfounded against Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. So, you know, it is interesting that Democrats in general can just get punched in the face over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then they just do nothing in return. Like, this is the resistance party. This is the most pathetic excuse for a resistance that I have ever seen in my life. It's embarrassing. And it's really disheartening that Biden has chosen to go in this direction. Another thing that I found really kind of funny in this article was them talking about basically how Biden doesn't want his whole presidency to be all about Trump. You know, and it's just such a silly reason or excuse to not be prosecuting criminals. Right. And, you know, certainly it sets a precedent for, you know, people in power going forward to be above the law. And that is massively problematic. It always has been. And we see this precedent being set once again in one of the most egregious ways that I can imagine. Maybe not that I can imagine. I mean, we did have previous administrations do torture and illegal drone strikes and stuff like that. It's surprising, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I just quickly want to add on that it's like they're not fundamentally all that different. I feel like Biden probably would really like to have, as a presidency, touching women a bit too much in places they don't want, a thing that he has a good set track record of already saying you can't do that, can't go after that person because we're too rich to go to jail, we're too big to fail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Joe Biden is, I mean, I think Kira laid it all out really well. Biden is exactly what everyone before him is. Mm-hmm. They're just following the same precedent of don't upset the apple cart. Doesn't matter if we got everyone whipped into a frenzy in our base and outside our base to some degree for the last 4 years, saying anything Trump did had to be Russian in base, anything he did had to be wrong, anything he did had to be corrupt. They set this house of cards up, and now that they have that had a very specific way of dealing with, put him in jail, hold him accountable, don't let the corruption happen. But now that that power has swung back into the right hands, although they are very much right hands, it's okay. We're okay. We don't got to do anything. We'll just let it go. I don't remember what that's. You know what's really funny? Mm-hmm. What Biden said is what Obama said about Bush. Obama said, "I don't want to dwell on the past. I don't want to focus on Bush for the rest of my term. We're going to let it go. I know that he committed war crimes. I know that he killed hundreds of thousands of civilians on fake pretenses. We everything that happened with Katrina, but I might do those things as well." So
Democratic voters and Republican voters, here's something that's going to make a lot of you uncomfortable. And this is something you got to deal with. Number one, I'd like to Daniel and Kira's point. Obama never held the Bush administration accountable, right? But then, hey, Republican voters, remember when Trump was saying, I'm gonna lock up Hillary, I'm gonna do this and do that? He never held the Obama administration accountable. It's all one big club, and you ain't in it. And so people who are holding on to hope, a lot of these protesters and activists who are holding on to hope that Trump is going to go to jail or be held accountable for his crimes, yeah, good luck with that. And I'm actually going to quote somebody in the live stream chat, Pat Bradigan, saying, prosecuting Trump might set a precedent that someone responsible for or the head of government or corporations or financial institutions get prosecuted. And that's not going to happen. They don't want that to happen. And a lot of these politicians who have been president have done a lot of horrible things. And any other country would have held them accountable. But in our country, they can get away with it. And why? Because they're owned by the extreme centrists, the people who think they can get away with this crap. And more importantly, they own the system. They own the courts. They own the media. Do you see MSNBC holding Obama accountable for his lack of attention to Flint, Michigan, and so many other communities that are dealing with lead in their water? Do you see corporate media holding Trump accountable for his continuation of wars? Granted, we didn't get into any new wars, but he still kept us in Iraq, Afghanistan, and everywhere else. You would think we'd be out of there by now. And of course, there's a lot of talk about us leaving Iraq and Afghanistan, but guess what? We're still going to be there. And once Biden's get into office, I wonder what new campaign theater we're going to get into. Are we going to go into Iran? Are we going to go anywhere else across the world? Because again, it's a sick system, and holding on to hope that somehow Trump's going to go to jail. What? Even Cenk Uygur was tweeted out saying, "I'm surprised that this is happening. The Democrats are weak."
Cenk is constantly surprised.
Cenk. Why are you surprised? I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Everyone knows it. We've all been talking about it. The Democrats lack a backbone. We need a moving for People's Party, and I do hope they have what it takes to build effective infrastructure to stand up to this two-party system.
Yeah, I would just add to all this that it's funny. All of this is so funny. What we're really seeing is an oligarchy acting itself out.
Yep.
We see the rich and powerful take actions that kill people. That's fine. You kill someone, not so fine. Although with the police departments these days, you're pretty safe to not get caught. It's just fascinating, the world we live in, where these parties, the Democratic Party can for 4 years get everyone rabid about the idea of having Trump see the inside of a jail cell and then not even think, oh, right, that might backfire on us because we're not going to do it, because we don't want to do it, because we don't care to do it, because it might affect us.
Kira, any other final comments?
Yeah, I think my only other real thought on any of this, that, just being aware of the chat and listening to y'all, and remembering, how Trump had talked about locking Hillary up and his disdain for Obama and the fact that he didn't do anything about any of the crimes that Obama committed during his presidency. I would assert that it definitely is more of a systematic administrative thing than it is the actual, choice necessarily of the president, because I would assert that Trump, if he had the opportunity, would take that on. But I think the system actually doesn't allow for that to happen.